Hey, welcome back to the channel. All right, it's time for the 34th edition of the overall tier list. This is going to be for August with August champions of Photon on Vox. We're gonna do something a little bit different. All the preamble, all of the explanations, all that stuff is actually gonna be at the end of the video. I know so many of you have already seen this every month, and it takes time. We want to get directly into it. Those will be a very few, I promise, very quick. 3 things I'm going to say is, 1, remember, this is a snapshot. You need to go play these champions yourselves. Make sure you enjoy them, like them before you rank them up. 2, the spreadsheet will be linked in the description, and also the screenshot size edition will be put up on Twitter, on my Twitter feed, so make sure you follow me there. Thank you to Misty K for always making sure it looks delightful and pretty. And 3, when you go to that spreadsheet that is linked in the description, you can see a lot of these have links that will go to a playlist that has been cultivated on my channel. A lot of them are my videos. Many of them are MCoC Illuminati and other content creators who I respect. I think I did a great job of going over these champions. While you're there, make sure you like those videos, and then make sure you hit subscribe and like and hit the notification bell for my channel, but also all of the MCoC Illuminati, as they are the ones who give so much input and make sure this tier list isn't just my own very, very biased opinion. All right, we're gonna go through this. Like I said, we're gonna start very quickly. We will go over the microphones, because that's who we said we would talk about, have been promoted, what have you, in this. So we're starting with a tier above all in Mystic, and we'll go through with the class. Starting with Absorbing Man, he's actually been promoted. He was already in the tier above all. I feel very, very confident about this. You see all the various emojis. The legend is down there in the right, so you can take a look at it. But I think just as time goes on, I think we all understand how amazing he is. Tiger has moved up to 2, and a lot of this is just due to Rincher moving down, how much he just literally doesn't make sense. Hopefully a lot of you heard my rant on him. I think it's good that Kabam is finally addressing and saying, like, the guy doesn't play the way he's written. He doesn't make a lot of sense. It's on the Trello board, so make sure you all check that out. But hopefully they end up doing something about it. I think he's still going to be very powerful. I don't think he'll move down from there. He is an abomination that was created that actually happened to work out. Nothing big, just wanted to point that out. Now, the big promotion we do have in Premium is as we go into the top shelf, right? It is with Spider-Man Supreme. A lot of you have been telling me you think that should happen anyway. B McG and Campo MC, both big Spider-Man fans, really pointed out, and they're like, dude, look, he's very unique. That's part of why you talk about having Mojo up as high as he is the way he interacts with buffs. He is a tough defender. This is not a defender tier list, but this is meant to be a rough guide and estimation on snapshot for you, and as you're making your rank ups. He's obviously very powerful. People use him for matchups with a lot of buffs, but then you can also use him for matchups that don't. We see that in Battlegrounds pretty frequently. Against Battlegrounds has its own tier list in video, so make sure you check those out from me as well. B McG, Campo MC, I don't personally like playing Spider-Man Supreme, but when players that smart and who've ranked up the Spider-Man, they're putting their money where their mouth is, telling me he's this good, I do think we need to reflect that, get that word out for you all. So top shelf, I feel great about that. And that is it for Mystic. And then we move on to the mutants. No changes in the tier above all. We have a promotion in the top shelf. This is similar to Spider-Man Supreme. A little bit different is I don't dislike using Havoc like I do Spider-Man Supreme. With Havoc, I have to understand and realize I don't think I know him as well, right? There's so many champions in this game. There's some we're comfortable with and some we're not. He falls more on the I'm not, but I see him being used so well. MCoC Illuminati, KT1 doing these things with Havoc. I see the immunities. I can see how he can take Korgs and things like that. So very tough defenders. I see him being used tier 1 war when he benefited from the attacker tactic, and then also when he doesn't. That needs to be reflected. He has a variety of ways he can do his damage with the big SP3 and then also with the debuff, right? Seems like I have a rough idea. Like, I see it, I know how to read the kit, but I think there's something about actually the application that for some reason stuck with me, but that's not a reason to not have him ranked up. This is why we watch all those other videos. This is why the MCoC Illuminati's opinions are taken into account. We want to make sure we have Havoc where he should be. Tom Jarvis, a lot of the Illuminati have been saying Havoc should be promoted for a while, so we have that there. And that is all the changes in the Mystic class. We'll now move on to the next class. Okay, moving on to the Science, we have the big promotion for this one. It's been a long time coming, right? Bitter Steel has been telling us how good Titania is for quite a while. I got my hands on the 7-star rank 2. I awakened her early, used her in war, just dominated. And part of what was holding me back was, I've talked a lot about in my best champions to rank 5. We're going to do it in the best champions to ascend. is 7 stars are punching down, and so they're very powerful now, but eventually they're all going to face each other. And this tier list is about champions in general, right? People are using this to rank 5 stars, 6 stars, 7 stars. So I didn't want to overstate it, but enough time has gone on. I'm using her to fight 7-star champions. I'm using her to fight 7-star rank 2 champions. Bitter Steel has a video out having fun calling her the best mutant counter. If you haven't seen it, click on this playlist, click on Bitter's channel, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, because the guy is dropping knowledge. Titania is phenomenal. She's amazing. Remember, I'm a good player. I'm not a great player like the rest of this group. And if I can pull this stuff off with Titania, I'm pretty sure you can too. I think she's very user-friendly, right? I like her. When she first came to the game, we talked about if you can go indestructible, unstoppable, and what's the other one? Oh, unblockable, and it's all passive, you're going to find uses for it. And sure enough, we're finding more and more uses for that. Ways to get around damage back mechanics. I don't want to spoil Bitter's video. Make sure you go watch it. I'll begin on my rank 2 video on it. It's going to basically be called like, it's a working title, but it's basically the absurdity of Titania, the things she can just do, right? It's phenomenal. It's amazing. I really think you're going to like her if you pull her 7-star or 6-star. It's not out of the question there. Moving on to the top shelf tier, we have our first new champion entrance for this one. It is Photon. And if it's like, give me the too long didn't read, Vega, let me know. It's a DLL champion. We need to say more. I think we don't. The guy is 343. If you've been paying attention to my channel, if you were one of the really early ones and you were back when we were streaming every summer and he was on there with me, I'd call him the smartest man in the battle realm. And fortunately, Kabam, I think they might have been listening, interviewed the young man himself, and they're like, we need some DLL in our lives. The guy is just creating phenomenal champions. Now, Photon, you're like, yeah, tell me about Photon, dude. Well, she's got a unique suite of immunities specifically for the science class. So she's bringing something unique already to a very strong class, what I consider to be the strongest class in MCoC. Then you get her Awakened. She's got another immunity there. I think it's with 2 Neutralize. She is a bit of a ramp-up champion in the Captain Marvel movie model. So you're going to have more success with her. Let's call it her quicker success in that 2nd or 3rd or 4th fight, or once you've got her a little bit ramped up. So you're not going to see her in the top of my tier list for attackers in Battlegrounds. But Battlegrounds is only one mode. It's a fun mode. It's my favorite mode, but it's only one. You also can't use her there, right? And one of the things I really want to point out to show just kind of some uniqueness on this is she has that Sunder off of her heavy, making her very, very helpful to you for some of the toughest Mystic Defenders with their crit resistance. I can see that I haven't updated the folder on this one. There will be a link in on this spreadsheet that will have DLL, the man himself, going over. It's the spotlight with context is what he calls them. I do have the Vox one linked. I will definitely be updating it with Photon. If you pull her and you're like not totally sure what's going on there, listen to the designer himself tell you how to use her and what his intentions were for things on like the ramp, right? The SP2 and then going into the SP1s over and over. She's phenomenal. I have pulled her. I don't think I'm spoiling my crystal opening video. No, I have pulled her. It's a DLL champion. He's my boy. I had to go out and at least try. We got her within the limits. I instantly took her to rank 4, and I believe I have her at SIG 200 or SIG 180. She's a very strong defender too. So if Battlegrounds is your thing or Alliance War, you're going to place her. She's won a lot of matchups for me. I think she's a bit more than like Kindred, right? People are learning to fight Kindred, and sure, as people learn to fight Photon, they will do better than they already are doing. But I think she's just tough in general too. You really want to make sure you bring that counter with the ability accuracy reduction. She's good. She's great. I'm so happy I have her. Like I said, too long didn't read. It's a DLL champion. Come on now. All right. Well, moving on to the other 2 we're going to talk about in this video is we're moving on to the premium. And remember, in this tier list, it's intentionally kept small. We don't even rank all the champions because they're not worth taking up the space. In the premium tier, those are still good champions worth ranking. You're going to have a lot of fun with them, and you're going to do some cool stuff with them. We have Wasp. I think it is Forgotten. I believe, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Forgotten, who's been doing some really cool stuff with Wasp. I've seen that on Twitter and on YouTube. People are starting to talk about it. I want to make sure that is it the metas of Battlegrounds and things like that, or is she just that good? Let me know if you have strong feelings. Like, dude, she should be in super premium. Let me know. Put it in the comment section, and Then also give me some examples like where you're using her. It does matter, and it'll help us out as we get the word out to more people. She's a good champion. I think just so often thought of as kind of like the synergy champion for Ghost, things like that, right? And then Abomination, we did move him down. Some of you may have been like, what? How come? And I'm sorry for some of you. I don't know how many Abomination fans there were, but this is really a ranking from a different time in the game. It wasn't that long ago. But with that synergy with it is Red Guardian, if I remember correctly, he actually gets quite powerful, but the science class itself has just improved so much since that all came out and was happening. I think we did need to reflect that it's a bit more limited. Also, Red Guardian's not that phenomenal, right? And they've got the emoji that the synergy is part of being taken into account for the ranking. So we've moved Abomination down. He still can do some fun things, do a lot of poison damage. In fact, I have a video on that. I'm going to make sure I get that linked out so you can check it out. My boy Ares in 4 Loki shared some footage with me doing some really cool stuff with Abomination. So there you go. Still a good champion, but I did want to reflect that I don't think as good or as valuable, or I wouldn't recommend ranking him up like I would Joe Fixit, Jessica Jones, Ant-Man, champions in that super premium tier. Let's move on to tech. Okay, there's actually no changes in tech. Feel really good about it, right? We talked about those every 6 months. I do the top 10 champion. It's just my own very personal, it's biased opinion. And that forces me to really reevaluate it and then go back to the Illuminati, and we stress test a lot of it. They've been extremely helpful every time for this general tier list. The one champion I'll talk about is Viv Vision. Now, there was some momentum, some talk about maybe moving her all the way up into top shelf based on, and I'm going to update this too. I'm going to make a note to myself. I want you all to see the video done by Simula. It's fantastic. He was, I'm not sure how it worked out, but he was given the early access, basically exclusive early access, to give us the buff notes on what is going to be happening with Viv Vision. Now, based on that video and what Simula shared, I definitely do feel like she should be in top shelf. And I do think, well, we'll talk more about this when we get to Vox. But based on that video itself and the details shared, I think she could move up, but I want to make sure it comes into the game before we show that. Super Premium is still very good. She's a good champion, but if it comes into the game live, because remember the CCP then tests it for a month is my understanding of how it's working. And as long as it comes out like that in the game, she's going to get a buff up. She's a very good champion, high skill cap. She's a very, very powerful champion. Moving on to the skill class, no changes in the tier above all. Really shouldn't be. Nothing's come out that's really groundbreaking there. Now, Zemo, I did the Trello board video. I had a lot of fun with that. I know a lot of you did too. Hopefully you can check that out. I should be putting out my next video with that character soon. But the relevant part is we never had Zemo that high anyways. I mean, this is very high, very powerful, but I don't think the rebalancing changes that at all. I never showed the Zemo lock. I was even kind of just roughly aware of its existence. It wasn't something I used. It wasn't something that I watched a lot. And so I don't really feel like that changes. The armor up situation, I think in some ways it's going to cut both ways, or in many ways it's going to cut both ways. I think it's going to allow you to potentially do some things you otherwise couldn't have done with Zemo, and it's going to hurt in some other ways. Ultimately, I think this is about right for him. When he first came into the game, I said, I think he's going to be a little slow. I think he might be for long form content. There's going to be some scenarios where he's going to, depends on how you define the cheese, the term cheese in MCoC, where he kind of cheeses it, but he kind of doesn't. I do think it takes a bit of a skill cap, but he's a good champion. I really like him. I think he's exceptionally well designed, and this is fitting. And I think the current version of Zemo that appears as though we're going to have long-term in this game, this is about right. He might move down a little bit below maybe Elsa or Mole Man, depending on what it is you're looking for, what you want. But he's well suited for the game now, where it seems to be heading. And if long form content comes out and you're allowed to bleed, I think you're going to see a lot of Zemo. So I'm not too fussed one way or the other. It was more the way it was gone about. But I think he's very, very good. And we're going to just pretty much leave him exactly alone, despite him being a slightly different champion. The promotion in this one into the top shelf is Blade. DLL's been on that Blade drum. He's been beating that drum for months now, and man ranked him up himself. And to me, that's always a sign, right? When someone's willing to use their own resources and put their money where their mouth is, right? And then also months later still say no, I'm glad I used those resources. Because even rank 4s, for me, I just took a champion to rank 4 today. Those are still precious resources. I don't have every champion at rank 4 that I want. There's a lot that I would want to. I'm still opening 6-star featured crystals because I want to rank some of those champions to rank 4, and that's even though I have 7-star rank 2s. Blade is very strong. One of the things looking back is when he came into the game, I know not all of us were playing the game at that time, I definitely was, is he solved the Mystic problem in Alliance War. And he was just dominating them, and it was so easy to just purely focus on that and this massive bleeds damage. And we had the Holy Trinity. For those of you who don't know that term, it was Sparky, right? Stealth, not stealth suit, Stark, Enhanced Spider-Man, and then Ghost Rider, regular old Ghost Rider, not Cosmic. This was a while ago. Legacy actually did a really cool video kind of going over the history of this, but the relevant part is that's what Blade did, and he did a phenomenal job, and he locked it down and solved the problem in essence. Well, now he's finally come out as a 6-star not that long ago, and then 6-star 6 stones became more available, so people started taking him 6-2, and we're like, wait a minute, this guy still does really great bleed damage, but he also is a healing machine. And I know a lot of you are like, yeah, we knew that, but it's another thing to really experience it with the 6 stars at that high sig, healing on demand. And then very rare in the skill class, and Diallo pointed this out, is like, he can gain power. That's enough. That's enough. Also, you know, the dimensional beams, there's not a ton of them in the game, but I think like America Chavez and Spot are the latest ones. Gallon might be too, but fact check me on that one before you go and try that. So those are pretty prominent champions that you're seeing a lot as defenders, a lot as attackers in war, battlegrounds, that sort of thing. I think it's enough to move Blade up. We're reflecting that. I'm not saying he's going to dominate everything, but that you don't need to be in top shelf. That's how you get in the tier above all. I think this makes a lot of sense. Let me know how you feel about Blade, and if you were playing the game when he came out. I mean, I definitely was. And I remember Blade Day and the excitement that came with it. All right, let's move on to the final class. Okay, moving on to the final class of Cosmic, the only one we really need to talk about is this. And it's kind of like a maybe meta conversation a little bit, is you've often heard me call Cosmic the most top-heavy class in the game. I know some people consider them to be the strongest class, and I can understand why. Hercules, Hulk, and Gallon Cosmic Ghost Rider often just absolutely dominate. Hercules is the one champion in the game that, you know, we often hear people talk about, like, he honestly needs to be nerfed. In my opinion, like, I wouldn't be angry if he's nerfed. That being said, I'm going to enjoy the Herc train as long as I can. But I think as you start to move down, there's this large gap between them and the rest of the class. Now, I think Adam Warlock fits that really well. It's a bit stressful to play, and I may one day make a video on some of the things going on. I think the AI is not doing him any favors, but I like Adam Warlock, and I got the video out on him. Null is obviously incredible. Hyperion, but then I think it starts to drop. If you look at him just as a class, I think the rest of this tier makes sense. King Groot, Angela, Odin, Gore. You can now see Vox. Captain Marvel movie with the Fury synergy. But a lot of people will be like, really? Are they that much better than the champions right below? And I can't say for sure they are, but this looks right to me. It's just when I look at it with the rest of it, I'm not sure it does. I'd love your opinion on that. Now to Vox himself. And some of you are going to be like, dude, that is way too high. I don't think so. I really don't. I pulled the 5-star and I listened to DLL, his champion spotlight with context, and go to that. If you're like, dude, what? Go to this, because I just haven't had time to get a video, and it's a 5-star. And he kind of goes over like kind of how to play him, and he's not selling you on the champion as much as he's explaining the champion. And it sounds like a champion I really want. You can get this really nice degen damage, and if you're playing it with your specials, well, that degen damage is really going to grow. And I tried it with my 5-star, and I was very surprised at how quickly the damage ramped up. It's fast. The other thing is he's got those like corrupted buffs, and those come along with their own suite of powers, and I really liked them. But he's also got those kind of classic cosmic immunities, but he's got like all of them, helping him out with the tech class. So he's not useless there. This isn't pure damage. And so I think he is probably well suited for today's game. If I had the 6 or the 7, I would have more fortitude, let's call it, in this. But I feel very comfortable with this. I think at worst, he gets moved down to the top of Super Premium. I don't think he's going to move to the tier above all, because I think a lot of his power budget, like we hear the designers talk about this terms being used more as like his power budget. I think a lot of that was put into doing damage. And here's ultimately the kind of save or the insurance on this is twofold. One, I actually think his damage might be a little bit better than we as a community think. I'm going to try to get out a video on it, but I'm not going to make any promises. You know how it is with me. But here's the second part of this, and I do think this is important, is we've seen this with rebalancing. This kind of goes back to what I was referencing earlier, is Kabam often just tells us what they want the champion to be. He's a 5 out of 5 in damage. Now, it could be long form, could be short term. You know, there's some wiggle room there. But if he's not hitting what they want him to do, they'll rebalance him. And I think he's already pretty good. How usable he is in stressful fights and things like that, I think only time will tell. But he's unique in this class. He can do the big damage with the degen, and if I'm understanding DLL's video correctly, he can actually do damage without it. It's not going to be as good or as flashy or as quick, but he can do it, and I think his playstyle might be a little more simple. I think as a community, we might be overcomplicating it. I do hope to do maybe some streams or something like that with Vox, but like I said, I don't want to promise it. If you're like really like, dude, you're on something right now. I'm not. But check out the video by DLL. I think it'll help explain quite a bit, and then you can test your own boxes. I know a lot of people people want to like him. He's a very cool character, and people want to like him or them. I guess it's, you know, all the boxes. And I think you'll really be happy with what you get. So that's the rankings. Like I said, stick around if you're interested in like kind of the format and all the qualifiers and things like that. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to follow me on Twitter so you can get all my tweets, right? You want those. But also that screenshot size edition, thanks to Misty K. And then make sure you go and you subscribe to all of the MCoC Illuminati. You're going to get better at this game while you're entertained. I absolutely guarantee it. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Okay, so here's the little explanation. I'm going to try to make this one quick too, but you can see we've intentionally kept this tier list small. Some champions just aren't even ranked because they take up space. They do not deserve it. Also, it makes it look nicer. We also have very few tiers, and that's intentionally done because so many champions in this game are fun, well-made, and will help you clear content. I think even Call, if you really like them, you're going to learn them really well, and you're probably going to do cool stuff with them. But I feel strongly about Super Premium. If you can see, as we've described each tier, it's like the most often question we get asked as YouTubers, should I rank this champion up? And essentially, based on the answer that I just instinctively give, that's how you go into a tier. Tier above all is, they're just the best. Top shelf is, yeah, heck yeah, rank them up. I don't have any concerns. I don't have to ask you any questions. Super Premium's like, yes, oh, yeah, yes. Then Premium's like, yeah, but let's ask some questions. Why? Why are you doing it? Make sure you understand this champion. Also, remember, this is just my opinion along with MCoC Illuminati, two of who are so smart at this game. They've been hired by Kabam to make it better. So it's a lot of experiences. It's not just mine. I personally do think that creates a more informative tier list, right? Not the other tier lists. You know, I do my own, but I admit they have a bit of bias. Everyone's tier list who I've ever seen admits that, and it's for fun and to get education out. One of the things that makes this one unique is it's got a pool of knowledge and experience in this game. Make sure you check them out. And oh, also this. Don't go, I urge you, please, I hope you've watched the whole video. I hope you're like catching this at the end. Don't go purely by this. Make sure you go play the champion. Watch some of the videos that have linked in these playlists from the spreadsheet. Make sure you like them. Make sure you play them. Because we've all been there. You know, you rank up a champion because you see how cool they are in a video or this fight they took or how well they are rated on a tier list. Then we go and play them and we don't like them. We don't like them. And the fact of the matter is if you know a champion, let's say in the super premium tier, let's say you really know Longshot. You know him, great, inside and out, you love him. You're gonna play him better than Rintra if you don't really like Rintra and you don't learn how to play Rintra. You're going to know how to use Longshot. You're going to know how to take the tough fights. You're going to maximize him and get the absolute best out of him than you would over Rintra. So use this as fun, as education, as knowledge, as a snapshot, fun conversation to follow. But ultimately, you need to make sure you go and you play that champion, have some fun. And then the legend is there in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm aware that my face cam is blocking it. Watch a little bit more of the video. You'll see it. Or just pull up the spreadsheet and it really ends up making a lot of sense. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next month. Take care.